So you probably will use your calculators just for helping with the algebra, but that's about it. So today's lesson on substitution is an algebraic method. On your unit exam, I could say solve by substitution. You'd have to use this method. Or solve by elimination, which is what we're doing tomorrow, and you'd have to show that method. So you need to be able to solve multiple ways in this. That's part of the curriculum. It's not just being able to use your calculator, but also knowing how to use the algebraic approach, which is going to be very, very helpful in grade 11 and 12. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, our first step is to make one equation x equals or y equals. Because if we can rearrange it, then what we can do is we can actually sub it into the other equation. And if we sub it into the other equation, then we will be able to create an equation with one variable. And when we have an equation with one variable, we can solve for that variable. There's one solution. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through it step by step right now. So here's two equations. X plus 4y equals 6 and 2x minus 3y equals 1. To solve this system by substitution, then check your answer. So there's really four parts to solving by substitution. The first part, I'll call A, is we're going to rearrange one of the equations for x equals or y equals. Rearrange one of the equations for x equals or y equals. Oops, not 0. X equals or y equals. And so what we want to do is always number our equations. So we can keep track of which one we're using at any given time. So the first I'd like to call 1, because it's logical. And the second I like to call 2. Okay, so we want to rearrange one of them. Now there is an easier way to do this and a harder way. We like to go the easy way, right? I would think so. No? Unless you like taking the road less traveled, which might be how you beat to your drum. The easy way is to choose the variable with the coefficient of 1. So do we have a variable with a coefficient of 1? Yeah, the x in equation 1. And so let's rearrange for x in this case, because that guy has a coefficient of 1. And we're going to make it x equals. So in this case, we're going to rearrange equation 1 for x equals. In this case. So right now I'm really being detailed in what we're doing, just for your notes' sake. In the future, we're not going to write all this stuff down. Okay, so let's rearrange it. So our equation is x plus 4y equals 6. And we want to get x by itself. We've done this before, right? How do we get x by itself here? Minus 4y. And now we have x equals negative 4y plus 6. And this is still equation 1, right? Equation 1, same equation, just looks different. Okay? Now our second step, I'll call it step B, we want to sub that into the other equation. So in this case, so sub the rearranged equation into the other equation. That's my shorthand for equation, because I get tired of writing equation. My chemistry teacher did that when I was in high school. That's why. Okay, so let's how do we do that? So in this case, because we rearranged 1, we're going to take 1 and we're going to sub it into 2. You'd never sub it into its own equation, because then everything's going to cancel out, and you'll figure out 0 equals 0. That's not what we want. We want to solve for a variable. So we always sub it into the other equation. So in this case, we're going to sub 1 into 2. Sub 1 into 2. So equation 1 is now x equals negative 4y plus 6, and we want to bring it, sub it into the other equation, equation 2. What is equation 2? 2x minus 3y equals 1. So because we solved for x in that previous step, we're going to replace the x. Replacing the x. Because we had x equals, that's what we want to sub it in. So I'm going to replace x. What is x equal to? Negative 4y plus 6. That's what x is equal to. So we're going to sub it in and then write out the rest of the equation. So I replace the x with negative 4y plus 6. Now we have one equation with one distinct variable, y. Just with y in there. There's no x's. So now we can solve for y. Just good old-fashioned algebra. Right? So what do we do first? First step, good old bed math. Brackets. Right? This is the fun stuff that like you probably miss. Like the fun, easy algebra. Right? This is what you live for. 2 times negative 4y, negative 8y, 2 times 6, positive 12, and then we have the minus 3y equals 1. What's next? Like term, so negative 8 minus 3, negative 11y, and there's still plus 12 equals 1, so we just combine the like terms. Next step, minus, want to get y by itself? Minus 12, so negative 11y equals negative 11. 1 minus 12 is negative 11, and last, divided by negative 11. This is the fun stuff. Y equals 1. So now we have y. We have one of the solutions to the to the intersection. I know the y value. Yeah, you're filling it up, aren't you? No? Unless you write small. Okay, now that we know y, we can move on to our third of the 4 steps. How can I get, if I know y, how could we get x? We don't have to go through all that same stuff. We could just sub that answer into either equation. So now that we know our y value, so part C is always going to be sub the newfound solution, the solution you just found, into either equation. Now I know y equals 2. I can sub in y as 2 and find our x. So who do you want to sub it into? Number 2? Sure. So let's sub, in our case, we're going to sub. I'm going to move down a bit so you can, I don't know how far you guys got. Yeah. It's a lot of writing, hey? So we're going to sub, in our case, we're going to sub y equals 2. It was 1, actually, right? Y equals 1 into, we said, equation 2. Doesn't matter which one, that's the one we're choosing. Okay. So what was equation 2? Because I can't see it. 2x minus 3y equals 1. So 3 times, instead of y, we're going to write 1. 2x minus 3 times 1 equals 1. We're going to sub that y value in to either equation. Now we can find x. 2x minus 3 equals 1, then plus 3. This is the fun stuff. 2x equals 4. Then divide by 2. I want to do purple. Divide by 2, and we get x equals 2. I keep wanting to do purple. Okay, so we have x and we have y. Our last step, what's our last step going to be? Check, yeah, put both the answers into one of them. Now, because we subbed into 2 with the last one, we want to check with the other one to make sure. Because if we made our mistake here and then I sub that back in, it'll say true. So if we checked sub, and if you're not sure which one to use, just do both. So in our step D is check with the other equation. Not used in part C. Not used in C. Check with the other equation, not used in C. So we sub in the y and the x, because now we know our solution. So we used equation 2, so in this case, we're going to sub our answer into, check with who? Equation 1. Check with 1. So we just want it left side equals right side, right? We were just doing our check. So what was equation 1 again? Can somebody help me? X plus 4y equals 6. Okay, what's our x? 2 plus 4 times 1 should equal 6. Does that check out? Yep. And now we're done. So, you can't see anything. Okay, I'm in the way. I make a better door than a window, is what you're saying? That's what my dad used to always say. That's what happens. Start to turn into your parents. Like, I'll never say that corny stuff. Oh, you will. Miss Jewett, yeah, she is awesome. I love it. Okay, turn the page. We got that all down? Now, so guys, all this black stuff I wrote here, we're not going to write again. Like, that was just all the steps that we're walking through each time. So, yes, it is a lot of writing, which is why your homework is pretty short, because it is a lot of writing. Easy, just lots of writing. Okay, is everyone done that page? Moving on. Okay. Do you want me to walk through this one with you again, or do you want to try it on? We're not skipping it. Either you're doing it on your own or we do it together. Try it? Together? Some people are saying together. So then we're going to do this one together and the next one on your own. No, it just matters. Choose the easiest. So in this case, if we number equations 1 and 2, who's the easiest to rearrange for? Okay, so part A, we're going to rearrange. The easiest to do is rearrange 1 for x equals or y equals? Y equals, because the y there has a coefficient of 1. So can you please rearrange that equation for y equals?
All high school math and fire students, the buses here, please meet in the atrium.
Okay, so what did you get for your first equation? Negative 3x plus 3. Good, because we subtract 3x to both sides. And we get y equals negative 3x plus 3. So we just rearrange. I'm going to just number this again. This is our equation 1. We rearranged. So I remember which equation I was working with. So now what's our next step? Sub 1 into equation 2. 1 was the rearranged, and I want to sub it into the other, which is 2. So sub 1 into 2. So what's equation 2? 2y equals 20. And which variable are we replacing? X or y this time? Y. Why is it y? Because we rearranged for y in the previous step. So this y is the one we want to replace, because that's who we rearranged for. Bless you. Okay. So we're going to rewrite this. Be careful. Whenever we sub, what are we going to put? Brackets. So I'm going to replace y with, what was y equal to? Negative 3x plus 3. Yes, it is step B. I don't know my alphabet yet. Go back to ABCs. All right, now here you have to be very careful. Where do you think students make a mistake here? They don't do BEDMAS? Okay, so what should we be doing first? Brackets. What are we distributing into these other brackets? The negative 2. Thank you for saying the negative, right? The sign is with it is negative. So we have 7x, negative 2 times negative 3x, plus 6x. Big mistake would be minus 6x. Negative 2 plus 3, negative 6 equals 20. And now it's just easy peasy algebra. Like term, 7 plus 6 is 13. Growing up, I don't know why, I always had problems with 7 plus 6. 13, I don't know why. It is a weird number. It's not a pretty number. I don't know why. Okay. See, life wasn't always perfect, even for the math teacher. 20 plus 6? 26. And then what's x equal to? Divide by 13. X equals 2. Yay. We added 6, right? Get x by itself. Now we know 2. We need to find y. Okay, so we know x now. We can sub it into either equation. It's our choice. Now here's a little hint. If you really want to make life easy for yourself, at this step, the easiest way to get your x1, you could use your new made equation. We still need to find y. And we have an equation that's y equals. You're allowed to use the equations that you rearranged. So step C, we can make it really easy on ourselves. We already arranged for that variable that we need to still find. And so when we sub x equals 2 in, let's go into equation 1. The equation 1 we rearranged. Does that make sense? Make life easy on ourselves. Because then we just have equation 1 rearrange is y equals negative 3x plus 3. So this is going to be really easy when we replace our x. That's just to make your life easier. You don't have to. We could have subbed it into the originals, either one. But why not choose the easy route? That makes sense? No? No, in D. D, the check has to be the other one. So because I'm using 1, my check is going to be with 2. Okay? All right. Negative 3 times 2. Negative 6 plus 3. Negative 3. Now I know x. Now I know y. Last step is check. And who are we going to check with? If we sub C and C we use sub into 1, we're going to check with 2. Check with equation 2. And equation 2, 7x minus 2y equals 20. So let's plug in both our numbers. 7 times 2 minus 2 times negative 3 has to equal 20. Maybe you'll already have one that's already in x equals or y equals form to make it easier. 2 times 7, 14. What's negative 2 times negative 3? Plus 6. 20 equals 20. Yay. Good job. So I would like you to try the next one on your own. Okay. Little hint. Who's the easiest to solve for? Equation 2 for which variable? Y. I'll leave this up. So give this next one a try. Oops. Rearrange. Now, I'm going to write a solution on the board. Remember that we should all get the same solution, but there's different ways to get to the answer. So your work might look a little different depending on who you rearranged for and where you subbed. Yeah, there's always only one possible answer. but more than one way to get to the answer. Okay, so check that you had x equals to 1. Should have had x equals to 1. Now, did most people follow the same pattern? Someone rearranged differently? You got x equals a different number? Oh, so you forgot the x here. I'll take a look 1 second. Who did you guys sub into next? Who did you sub x equal to 1? In 2 or 1? So if you want to keep life easy, the easiest step for C would just be sub x equals 1 into your rearranged equation 2. Because our rearranged equation 2, guys, is y equals negative 2x. So it's just easy peasy, just plug in that x, so y is negative 2. Yeah, as long as we didn't make a mistake rearranging. But if you made a mistake rearranging, your x would be wrong anyways. So why not put it into the easier one? And last step, because I subbed into 2, who do you have to check with? 1. So D check with 1. So you should have had 5x minus 3y minus 11 equals 0. And it's going to be 0 equals 0. It's 5 times 1 minus 3 times negative 2 minus 11 equals 0. Or 5 plus 6 minus 11 should equal 0. 0 equals 0. No. They should always check out. They should if it doesn't check, then you made a mistake in your work. If I checked with 2, then I had to sub in 1 in C. Because what if I made a mistake in this step, and then I check with the same one? Of course, it's going to show me it's right. But if I actually plugged it into the other one, it would show me it was wrong. So you always do the opposite. If you're not sure, do both. So opposite of part C. So because I used 2 in C, I'm going to use 1 in D. It's a lot of writing. Okay, going on to the next page, we're going to actually skip that first word problem and just go on to the next one, because I really don't like that first word problem. So just turn over to the one that says a dance recital. Add a dance recital. This one right here. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to read the question, and I'd like you to try and complete step 1 and step 2. So there's always 5 steps in a word problem that you need to go through, and I'd like you to try on your own doing step 1 and step 2. Remember, this is a perfect, if we read it together quickly, a dance recital, there's 220 people. Tickets cost $9 for an adult and $6 for a child. The dance school collected $1,614 in ticket sales. How many adults and how many children attend the recital? This is a perfect chart problem because they give us 2 totals, a total amount of money and a total number of people. And so you're welcome to use the chart to make your equation in this one. But I'd like you to try step 1 and 2 on your own. And I think, will you choose A and C for your variables, maybe? Adult and children. Or you can use X and Y, it's up to you. Okay, but I'd like you to try this part. And often your question is going to give you your variables. So when it says the question was how many adults and how many children, right away that gives me my 2 variables, A and C, 2 situations, and they tell us how many is really the question. And so that's going to be our variables, the number of or how many children, how many adults. Did anyone use a chart? Yeah? Okay. Remember when we make a chart? It's kind of like a 3x3 grid, kind of. with one corner missing. So our two situations, adults and children. And then the totals are going to go down here. The formula is the price for one adult or child times the number of adult or children equals the total amount of money collected for each, the adult or the children. So what was the price for the adult? $9 and children's were $6. These two boxes are always our variables. So the number of adults was A and the number of children was C. How do we get these last boxes? 9 times A and then 6 times C. Now our two totals that they give us, the first one is the column of number, the number. So how many people do we have there? 220, and how many, the price was total 1614. And so the great thing about this is then we have our two equations, right? Remember our first equation is that guy, and then our second equation is that guy, and that guy expanded. Okay, so there's our two equations. Now you could have also got it just by, with these type of problems, remember the money always go together. So when it said $9 for an adult, $6 for a child, and that much money is collected, that's always going to go together in the first equation, or one of the equations. And then the total is just the A plus C. Okay, so you should have had 9A plus 6C equals 1,614, and A plus C equals 220. Did you want to try and solve this now? Yeah? I'm going to call this guy 1 and this guy 2. Who's the easiest to rearrange for? 2. Which one do you want? Let's all do the same one so we at least are A. Okay, so let's all rearrange equation 2 for A. For A equals. So at least our work is the same. That's our new equation 2. So if you rearrange 2, then we have to sub into 1, or to the other equation. Now, you don't have to rewrite the equation. You can go straight to subbing. So we rearranged A, so I can go straight to 9 times, my new A is 220 minus C plus 6C equals 1,614. However, it's kind of helpful writing out the equation and circling the variable you're replacing so you don't make a mistake there. But you don't have to do that. No, you could write negative C plus 220. Is that what you guys did? Okay, I'm going to write that too then. Negative 9C, yeah. So distributive law. We've got good habits from linear equations, that's why. So negative 9C, 220 times 9. 1980. That's close to the year I was born. 1980. All right, like terms. Negative 9 plus 6, you should have a negative 3C. Negative 9 plus 6.
Oh, okay, so you're, okay.
Collecting like terms. Okay, this point, did anyone, what did they get here? Help me. Thank you. Negative 366. And then divide both sides by negative 3, and we get 122 children. Did you get the same? Yay. So C sub, our C equals 122 into, which equation we want to use. The easiest would be our rearranged one over here, our first one, so equation 2. So I'll write it how you guys wrote it, which was negative c plus 220. So when you sub it in, it's negative 220, oh, no. Negative 122 plus 220. Same thing like your total minus the number of children. Which gives us good old 98. Yeah. So then 4 we'd have to sub into, because we use 2 here, we would use 1. So we're going to check with 1. And our equation 1 was the 9a plus 6c equals 1,614. So at this point, you could just plug these numbers into your calculator. Oopsies. When you're doing your check. So you can grab your calculator. It's okay, 9 times 22 plus 6 times 98 should give me, uh-oh. 9 was the adults. Yep. See, this is not good. 9 is the adults, which was 98. Plus 6 times the children. Let's try that again. 9 times 98 plus 6 times 122. There you go. 1614 equals 1,614. That's it. So manageable. Yeah, it just takes practice. If it was a word problem, oh, we missed a part. Write a sentence. So the question like this would be 6 marks. So 2 marks for your actual solving, and then a mark for each other step. Okay, so a word problem would be like 6 marks. All right, so write a sentence. So what's our sentence? Therefore, 122 children, and therefore. 3 dots like this means therefore. It's a mathematical way to write therefore. You're going to prove. Therefore, 122 and 98 adults attended the recital or the dance. It's a big deal, this recital. Okay, so your homework, it's not that big. It's just a matter of practice, and it does take a lot of room for one question, you'll notice. But, all right.